Hello, and welcome to my channel. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads. And as always, I'm Andrew, and today we are going to be doing a book review. And that book is going to be Ship of Magic. Now, before we get into the review, make sure to like and subscribe so you can get regular updates from when I post new content. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you haven't already, please check the description below for the link down to the Discord. And without further ado, let's get into Ship of Magic. This is the first book of the Live Ship Traders. And I'm going to try and stay mostly spoiler-free here. This is only my fourth Hob book. And so far, I am convinced that Hob just can't write a bad book. Even if I have issues with the book, which I do have issues with this book, it's still a great book. I complained nonstop about certain things that happened in this book, and I still gave it a 4 out of 5. Now that said, let's talk about the book. Alright, so let's get started on the background of this story. Essentially, this is the Live Ship Traders. This takes place in the same world as the Six Duchies, but is all the way on the other side of the map. Literally, I opened up the map. Hold on, let's see if I can even... for reference, actually, perfect example here. Let's go ahead and pull open Farseer. Now, we've got this map all in the center. Now, your Farseer trilogy took place all through here. Now, I could not find where Live Ship Traders took place, but if you look down here in the corner, it's all the way down here and actually below. So it takes place down here. So it's all the way on the other side of the map, and I believe takes place about 2 or 3 years following the events of the Farseer trilogy. We have a completely different cast of characters. Essentially, what this world is this follows basically a port city called Bingtown. And you've got the old world traders who were traders who made an agreement with a ruler, I believe in a satrap, I believe it's called. I've never actually heard this word pronounced. Please correct me if I am saying it incorrectly. Go ahead and leave a phonetical description down in the comments below. But he ceded them a monopoly on this trading if they were willing to risk their lives to endure sailing up the Rain Wilds River, which is just full of magic and disease and what have you that is just very, very perilous. And in order to do this, these old traders needed live ships, which is made of a special wood called wizard wood. And if a family member, or if a family purchases a live ship at great personal cost, literally it can take generations to pay off a ship. As this family sails on these ships, this wizard wood built ship, it takes 3 people from that specific bloodline to die on that ship. They have to be on the ship and to do what is called a quickening. And the ship, basically, the ship's figurehead comes alive. And at this point, the ship can kind of almost sail itself. It can find streams that, make it go faster. It can catch the wind with barely a whisper and then take off. They are nimble. They are fast. If pirates try and snag a live ship, it's just gone. Like, they can have the same wind, but the live ship will catch it better and will be gone. The ship can communicate. Essentially, the figurehead is alive. Now, it has been pointed out to me that I have been reading the names in this book entirely wrong. I don't have a problem with it, but, once I heard the names spoken, I was like, oh! My brain just auto-corrected to the closest possible pronunciation that my mind had reference for. It is a fantasy book. I did not look up the pronunciations of certain things, so bear with me and don't pull me apart if I get things wrong. But basically, that's where we pick up in this world, is we follow an old trading live ship family who the patriarch is a man. The patriarch of the family is essentially about to die, and he's the 3rd person to die. and so needs to be brought back to the live ship Vivacia in order to quicken her. And basically what has happened is family politics have ensued, and nobody ends up happy with the organization. Essentially, the youngest daughter, Althea, not the youngest, the youngest daughter. Sorry, I was thinking of the granddaughter. It's a very big family. The youngest daughter has been sailing with the patriarch Ephron Vezret for almost going on her entire life. She very rarely comes home. She's not a very womanly woman, and she thinks she is ready to captain, but the family doesn't. Essentially, people have been moving in, and the ruler has been breaking promises from previous generations and ceding new lands to new traders, even though he's not supposed to, just because he keeps burning through his money and wants to make more money to live a lavish lifestyle. So the family is essentially going broke, and the quickening of the live ship is going to bring them a lot of money. So as Ephron is dying, Althea thinks she's about to inherit. Unfortunately, there has been some family politics, and the oldest daughter, who does have 3 kids, one is a very young boy. He very rarely comes up. You've then got Malta, who is a kind of spoiled little rich girl, doesn't really understand. She tries to manipulate her family. She wants what she wants, and that's that. Then you've got Windrow, who was promised to the priesthood of Sa and is recalled from the monastery to witness the death of his grandfather. And he thinks that he's just there to witness, but things don't quite go that way. And then you've got Kyle, who is Kefria, the oldest daughter's husband, who is an experienced sailor, but isn't from Bingtown. So he doesn't understand the traditions, he doesn't understand what the live ship is, and frankly, he is just a very kind of misogynistic man who thinks the man leads and the woman's job is to stay home, look pretty, get spoiled with nice, pretty baubles, and just pop out babies and manage the household. And that's kind of where we're at. Now, I have mentioned a lot of names here. Let's talk about some of the characters here. Specifically, I'm going to focus on 3. And that's going to be Kyle Haven, who ends up becoming captain of the Vivacia once she's been quickened. Windrow, who is forced to become a sailor against his will by his father, Kyle. And Althea, who wants to be a sailor and own the Vivacia, but is told she doesn't have the sailing experience in order to do so. So her whole purpose in this book is to kind of thumb her nose at people who say she can't do it and go and prove them wrong so that she can get what she considers her ship back. Because there's a whole familial link. The ships can communicate with members of the blood. It has to be like a Vezret on board her at all times. But that's just how the magic of this world is working. Now, if we're talking about Kyle is a very competent sailor on a regular ship. That said, he doesn't really know how to handle a live ship. He doesn't know the magics involved with a live ship. He doesn't understand what a live ship needs. He doesn't understand what you can't do with a live ship. And essentially, he thinks that he is stepping into this role and fulfilling his dream. It is a very, very, very sought-after position to become a live ship trader. And he has now acquired a live ship, so he thinks he's got it made. Because he doesn't understand how it works, things just keep going wrong, and it makes him angry. He is fast to lash out, fast to anger. If you ever bother to contradict him, he immediately responds with either A, anger, B, violence, or C, complete indifference. And so basically a lot of what happens is of his own making. Because instead of pausing to actually have a conversation and to learn the traditions of the Bingtown traders, he has just kind of gone off sailing, come home to his wife, produced children, spent money, and then gone off again. And you would think, oh, well, maybe he's just kind of new to that. No, I mean, he has been married to a live ship trading family for 15 years and never bothered to learn anything. So a lot of what happens is of his own making. Althea thinks she is a competent sailor. She is in fact not. And throughout the book, she will discover that, oh, there were in fact skills I was lacking and that I needed to learn. People were actually right. Now, even though she understands that she had room to grow, she still kind of, she still kind of really thinks the Vivacia is hers, it belongs to her, and that Kyle has stolen the ship from her, through basically stolen her inheritance. So as a character, Althea has a lot of growing to do. She finds out she's competent in certain things, and she's lacking in others. We also learn that she does make some rash decisions. She doesn't always think things through. She's very much from the heart instead of from the brain kind of thinker. She reacts with her heart and doesn't stop to really think. And there are multiple instances where this is kind of pointed out to her. Now, don't get me wrong, Althea is a very enjoyable character to read and interact with. And I ended up finding that she was probably my second favorite character in this book. That brings us to Windrow. Windrow, when we're first introduced to Windrow, he is, I think, 13, and he is a basically prodigy priest. He is advancing in the ideals of the priesthood very, very quickly. And so he is happy. He is content. He has found his place in the world. And then he receives news that his grandfather is dying. And he is surprised that he's being recalled home for the funeral or the quickening of the ship, which he grudgingly goes. I wouldn't say he goes kicking and screaming, but he does end up going. And once it's over, he figures, hey, it's time for me to go back to my monastery. That doesn't quite happen. He actually ends up getting press ganged into being the ship's boy on the Vivacia because Kyle doesn't want Althea on the ship anymore. He doesn't think she's competent, he thinks she's spoiled, and he wants his son there with him. And Windrow doesn't want to do this. Now, of all the characters, I think Windrow has the most up and down character growth, but at the same time, where he ends up and what he endures, what he learns, I feel like he grows the most throughout the book. Even though his emotions are all over the place, I can attribute that to his link with Vivacia. Essentially, they can share emotions and things of that nature, and sometimes I think her inner turmoil of what's happening to her can be affecting his decisions, and the same goes vice versa, so they kind of feed in this just Mobius strip of just never-ending infinity loop of kind of suffering. The tone of the book is, it's again very melancholy, a lot like the Farseer trilogy. Now there is one other character that is in here, and that is Captain Kenneth. Captain Kenneth wants to be king of the pirates. His storyline doesn't really intersect until nearing the end of the book. But basically what he wants to do is he wants to be king of the pirates. And he is repeatedly told, but the pirates have no king. The pirates are pirates because they want to be free men. They don't want to be ruled. They don't want laws. And so he is constantly trying to find ways to cunningly shift opinion. Be that through propaganda or manipulation or clever spending of coin or through social contracts and various means. And I thought Kenneth was the most interesting character in here just because he is both not a nice man, but a manipulative man, but also a very introspective man. And I'm super curious to see where he goes throughout the rest of this trilogy. Now, one of the things I do want to note is this book is 880 pages. And I know some people seem to think that this book reads really fast. For me, I've kind of slogged my way through it. Now, don't get me wrong, I've had some heavy reading this month. And so it could be that is what really slowed me down here. But overall, I have enjoyed it. Solid 4 out of 5. The structure of the book is a little different. We do have multiple POVs, in the third person. So instead of riding around in Fitz's head or in these characters' head like we did in the Farseer, we get a structure change. And that's with just constantly rotating POVs. And it's not even dedicated chapters to POVs. Sometimes it is, but sometimes the chapter can be broken up into either 2 or 3 parts with multiple POVs. And so you're constantly just shifting perspective, which allows a nice steady flow through the book. Because you're never getting super bogged down in anything unless you hit like one of the 2 really long chapters in here. Chapter 16 in this book is absolutely massive. I think in this version it was close to 60 pages, which I'm not a huge fan of longer chapters, but in here I'm willing to forgive it just because the book was so good. That said, I do have some cons and complaints with this story. Personally, as far as I can tell, I'm the only person who's had these faults. Of the people that I've talked to, they seem to say, hey, it's explained throughout the story. And in a sense, it kind of is explained. You know, there are certain laws in this world, certain rules, the way these people live their lives that explain away certain decisions. And it could just be that I am coming from a completely different cultural perspective looking into a fantasy culture. But I felt certain logical decisions in this book didn't quite make sense. For instance, Kyle. Certain things that happen with Kyle in the first portion of the book, leading up to, you know, the inheritance of Vivacia and how everything happens, certain things happen where people act shocked. And I'm like, well, what do you mean shocked? They've been married for 15 years. It's not like you've never met this man. And I felt like Hobb wrote a very detailed outline and then forced the characters into that outline. Now, I'm not saying that to be a bad thing, per se, but there were certain things where, like, I felt like, oh, that happened because of the story. That needed to happen, so the author forced it to happen. Or that needed to happen so, you know, plot armor took over and this happened. Or certain things just didn't quite sit well here with me. Not any particular theme in the story quite shocked me, but certain decisions that I just don't think would happen in the real world. Like, you know, Kyle is not a good man. Kyle is not a good father. Kyle is not a good husband. Kyle is not a Bingtown trader. And yet they all act surprised when he starts acting like a regular trader who doesn't understand the Bingtown laws. But he's been married and part of your family for 15 years, and nobody bothered to teach him any of this. And my mind just gets hooked on 15 years. That's a decade and a half. And the man was never either taught or bothered to learn anything about his wife's family, who they live with. When he's not on the ocean, he lives with these people, as far as I can tell. So certain things just didn't quite sit right here with me. But, again, those are minor complaints. It's just certain logical things that my brain refused to accept. And whenever these things happened, it would kind of pull me out of the story a little bit and break my immersion. Overall, I am going to give this book a high recommend. It is a 4 out of 5, but I won't recommend you pick it up if you're not looking for something dense and heavy. I mean, it is... You can do damage with this thing. I mean, this is a big book. It is 880 pages. And if you're looking for something that's going to have fun, this quite isn't the book for you. There are certain exhilarating moments in this book, but like I said, there's a lot of melancholy here. Almost all of your characters are unhappy in some form or another. And that can lead to you kind of sympathizing and sharing emotions with these people. You feel for them, you want to help them, you want to reach out and hug them, you want to reach out and punch them, depending on the character. Some of them you want to just give a stern talking to, and I'm looking at you, Malta. Anyway, overall, solid book, 4 out of 5. If you do love Robin Hobb, you are going to love this. I do know some people have skipped the Farseer and gone straight to Live Ship. I'm at this point right now, I'm only the first book in. I do prefer Farseer over Live Ship, but I am jumping straight into Mad Ship this month as a part of the read-along at Megan's Reading Revelations. So that said, that is my review for Ship of Magic. Thanks for watching, guys, and like always, stay magical. Peace out. Bye.